landscape of a river valley, we are witness to nature that has been left virtually untouched. Some who visit here describe the atmosphere as resembling a celebration, perhaps because they can truly sense here that life on Earth evolved from water. But what we perceive is only a fraction of the life that surrounds us here. The water is teeming with life. Countless species of tiny creatures finding a perfect environment. Billions of years ago, the atmosphere contained just about all the components that made life later on possible. Water vapor, hydrogen, nitrogen. As a result of the radiation of the sun, the warmth of the Earth's crust and lightning, amino acids formed, the building blocks of the proteins found in all living matter. The oceans became enriched with these precursors of life. The primeval soup came into being. From these amino acids, the first living creatures formed, like these diatoms. According to Nobel Prize winner Professor Butenandt, silicic acid thus played a major role in the development of life on our planet. The cell walls of these algae contain silica. When the diatoms die, their hard shells group in thick layers to form the floor of the seas and lakes. They can also be found in the soil. The remains of these trillions of diatoms are called silica. Their principal constituent is silicic acid. The most beautiful form of this element we know is rock crystal. Silicic acid is a silicon compound. The element silicon is rarely found in its pure state. Silicic dioxide is commonly combined with oxygen to form silicon dioxide. When silicon dioxide is combined with water, we traditionally speak of silicic acid. Almost all plants contain silicic acid, in particular grain and horsetail. Silicic acid is also essential for animals. It constitutes 70% of birds' feathers. In the human organism, silicic acid is found in connective tissues such as skin, tendons, ligaments, and cell membranes, but also in the walls of blood vessels. Wherever the body relies on water absorption and elasticity, silicic acid is required. For example, it forms support for the hair and nails. Brittle nails and hair may be caused by a lack of silicic acid, and an intake of silicic acid can help them recover. Silicic acid also takes part in bone metabolism. It supports the absorption of calcium in the bone. Research on the role of silicon in the immune system has produced remarkable findings. Silicon helps the body defend itself against harmful microorganisms. It fights infection and promotes wound healing. It has only been known for a few years that silicic acid, and therefore silicon, is an essential element for the human organism. A lack of silicon will bring about signs of deficiency. Silicon deficiency can result from eating too few vegetables, which have high silicic acid content, and too much meat, which is low in silicic acid. The demineralization of the soil and modern refined foods might also be causes, as silicic acid is mostly found in the outer layers of vegetables and fruits. As we age, our bodies absorb and utilize less and less silicon. In order to prevent or to remedy silicon deficiency, a high silicon diet should be followed, including whole grains in particular. For those who want to be extra certain of adequate silicon intake, silicic acid can be taken in various forms as a dietary supplement. Silicic acid can be taken in powder form. In this form, the silicic acid is bound in relatively large particles, which are difficult for the intestinal wall to absorb. In liquid form, the silicic acid molecules are enclosed in water molecules, making passage through the intestinal wall easier. Original Silicea balsam is such a colloidal form. It allows better absorption. Original Silicea balsam, the leading colloidal preparation of silicic acid, is made from quartz sand and contains active silicic acid finely distributed in water. What conditions can this essential mineral be used for? Disorders that can be attributed to silicon deficiency. Weak connective tissue, a sign of which is slow growth of hair and nails. A scientific study in which Silicea was applied for 6 months showed that the structure of the nail was clearly improved. However, nails and hair are only one part of connective tissue. There is growing evidence that blood vessels in elderly persons, for example, can benefit from liquid silicon gel. Calcification and a lack of elasticity are associated with decreased silicon. In addition to these internal effects, silicon gel aids in healing the skin and mucous membrane. Inflammation, as seen here as a reaction to an insect sting, usually results in the accumulation of fluid containing inflammatory substances. We all know that a wound like this heals more quickly when it is kept dry. The reaction of the huge surface of silicic acid enables the binding of the wound secretion with its toxic components. When silicon gel is dissolved in water, its resorption effect becomes even greater. The vessel on the left contains liquid silicon gel. The vessel on the right contains the same amount of silicic acid, though in the form of siliceous earth. A dye solution is added. In both vessels, the dye is absorbed by the silicic acid molecules. To determine the degree of absorption, the solutions are put through a filter. The silicic acid with the absorbed dye remains in the filter. In the vessel on the right, the siliceous earth has absorbed only part of the dye. In the vessel on the left, the same concentration of silicic acid in the form of liquid silicon gel has completely absorbed the dye. Silicea balsam is better able to absorb inflammatory secretions. Silicon is the second most abundant element in the earth after oxygen. Wherever we look, silicon is present. Because of its enormous reactive surface of 300 square meters to 1 gram, silicic acid can be used for all conditions where toxic secretions must be absorbed. It has an anti-inflammatory effect. Internally, silicon supports the function of elastic tissue. In the gastrointestinal tract, silicon gel brings relief for gastric irritation and indigestion, and it absorbs secretions with their toxic substances. Externally, silicon gel helps soothe mild inflammatory skin infections and burns, such as sunburn or insect stings and acne. The anti-inflammatory action of silicon gel can be seen in the treatment of mouth and throat inflammations, and it strengthens the gums. Original Silicea balsam can be applied both externally as well as internally. That's what makes it so extraordinary. The colloidal gel has two distinct advantages over the other forms of silicic acid. Better absorption in the organism to compensate for silicic acid deficiency, better absorption of toxic substances. Louis Pasteur recognized the universal relevance of silicon in nature. Regarding silicic acid, this great French chemist said, "Silicic acid was called on to play a great role in nature. It is up to us to use that knowledge."